Well, I think this is going to be a very important week, not just this week, but obviously with the Democratic convention coming up in Chicago next week. Vice President Kamala Harris has already sort of talked about how important it is for her to get her economic policies. Even when you look at the polls that you mentioned earlier, why people believe that she has the potential to lead on economic issues, currently there's nothing out there that really allows her to stand sort of 2 feet on and speak about how she'll differentiate herself with current President Biden. Most people believe that she's going to mostly stay in line with some of the policies that President Biden has touted over the last year in his initial run. But I believe that Kamala Harris has the opportunity right now to really define her policy specifically on the economy and specifically when it comes to sort of the care economy, whether it's affordable care, which is something that she's talked about in the last few days. But I think that we're going to see it towards the end of the week, where on her online platform, she's going to put up some of those policies. But certainly next week at the Democratic convention, I think that's where everyone's going to finally get the opportunity to hear her and how she'll differentiate herself from current President Biden.
You know, the big headline, one of the biggest headlines this week is that the U.S. and Israel now sort of bracing for this Iran attack as soon as this week. And Biden is trying to really contain the situation, talking to European leaders as well, calling for a ceasefire. If the Biden administration manages to see that through during his time in office, contain the situation and somehow bring a ceasefire talks to the conclusion, does that necessarily benefit Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
Well, the first thing I would say is I don't know if we're going to see a ceasefire. We've sort of touched upon this issue over the last several months. There were stops and goes where we thought that a ceasefire potentially would come and then an event would happen, just like we saw a couple weeks ago. And I think that it's going to be very challenging in the next sort of 80 days or 90 days, let's say 3 months, where things would change dramatically, where we would potentially see a ceasefire. I think Kamala Harris has stated that she would like to see, more so than anything, hostages removed, hostages freed. And that's something that she was just asked about yesterday in terms of how does she feel about sort of all the different people in Gaza who have been impacted by these strikes, and why she said that Israel obviously has the right to protect itself. She still wants to see the hostages removed, and more importantly, more of an importance given to civilian deaths, which has been too high.